for taking the time. And hello to all you folks there on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. And let me just, for some reason, Facebook is being complicated. So there, now we fix it. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it just does it. Sometimes it doesn't. All right, everybody. I'm Bishop James Long, and today's Friday. It is Friday. Thank goodness for that, isn't it? I don't know where you are, but hopefully wherever you are, you're staying warm, comfortable, happy. And boy, am I excited to be here, as I am every day to be here with you guys. Let me just remind you of a couple things, if you don't mind. First of all, I would like for you to go to our sponsor's website. That's really important. That's Mr. Producer there, and KGRADB Radio. So KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. Now, if you go to that website and you subscribe, they have really amazing shows there, really cool shows from all, it's amazing. But put Bishop as your promo code because you're going to get 30% off your subscription. So do that. It saves you money. It's already affordable as it is. But, of course, they produce our shows. And so we appreciate being partners with them. So KGRADB.com. Don't forget, KGRADB.com. If you want to go to my website, that's simple too. BishopJamesLong.com. Pretty simple. And of course, if you want to go to the church's website, USOCC.org. Yeah, Bishop is your promo code. Yep, that's it. And you get 30% off. So USOCC.org. Now, tonight we have night prayer as we do every single night. You can go to USOCC.org, click on the night prayer. Scroll down. You'll see night prayer. So it's at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. Usually around 9:45, we kind of play relaxing music, just to kind of, no matter what kind of day you've had, it kind of just, hopefully it helps. It certainly did me when I was in the seminary. It was just a day to reflect and to just kind of let go of all the stress and anxieties of the day and just kind of be in the moment in the prayer. So we start at 9:45. Again, USOCC.org. And if you click down, you'll see night prayer link. It takes you right there. It's strictly audio. So that way, you know exactly what to look for. Well, hello there from Norway. We have people from all over. That's really so cool about this presentation, about being online in so many different formats. Is that there's people from all over the world watching, and I think that's pretty spectacular. And people from I see Israel and Ireland and Norway and goodness gracious. All kinds of places. And of course, for those of you who are interested in sociology or psychology, you're going to really, I think, enjoy the presentation tonight. And actually, I think every single one of you hopefully will enjoy it because it is a presentation that needs to be discussed. And look here, I'm not... You know, guys, by now I'm a straight shooter. I don't like to sugarcoat things. And one thing that I have a big problem with, and I mean a big problem, is frauds who run around pretending that they are God, pretending that they are Jesus, pretending that they were Marilyn Monroe or whoever else, E.T. phoned home or whoever else they want it to be for that particular day. It is preposterous. Not only is it preposterous, it is an abomination. Not only is it an abomination, but in my eyes, it is spitting in the face of the true Alpha and the Omega. So let me just make this very clear to anyone who is watching this now or later. Do not follow any con artist who tells you they are God. They need to get off the cross and let Jesus have a try. They are not God. They will never be God. They are people, obviously, who are psychologically damaged and individuals who like to manipulate and torture and psychologically torture people. Plain and simple, that is my opinion, which I am entitled to. And quite honestly, I think every single person in the world, at least the majority of people in the world would say, yep, anybody who runs around claiming that they're Jesus, they're obviously mentally disturbed. But see, that's the problem, isn't it? That's the problem because cults exist today. They existed yesterday. They existed the day before. Years and years. Let me tell you something. I am compelled to speak to you about a grave concern that has been weighing on my heart. You see, in recent times, we've witnessed the rise of cults, see, and the dangers that they pose to individuals and families. You see, cult leaders, they masquerade as divine figures or supreme beings, and they are preying on the vulnerable, demanding the surrender of everything dear to their followers. And it's true. These cults, and that's what they are, with their deceptive allure, they draw people in with their promises of purpose and belonging, enlightenment. However, let me tell you this, the truth is far more sinister. See, once ensnared, this is what happens. Followers find themselves trapped in a web of manipulation, control, stripped of their autonomy, and then coerced into to cutting ties with loved ones and relinquishing their material possessions, sometimes everything, even their passports in Jonestown. The rise of cults in modern society is a distressing trend. It is a cancer in society that needs to be removed. You see, factors such as social and economic instability, as well as the pervasive influence of the internet, have provided fertile ground for these insidious movements to flourish. See, the allure of belonging and meaning can actually lead to many astray, and it has, making them susceptible to the false promises of these cunning serpent leaders. And I make no apologies to say they are serpents. They are antichrists. The Revelation actually talks about Antichrist with a capital A. It also talks about Antichrist with a lowercase a. These people who run around claiming to be God, claiming to be Jesus, they are antichrists that Revelation speaks of. Make no mistake about it. They will deceive many good people. See, the people that are deceived, they're not bad people. They just want to have a feeling of belonging. And these serpent cult leaders, they know this because they're not listening to the Spirit, the Holy Spirit. They are listening to the demonic, and they are following the demonic lead. And they, in fact, are antichrist. As a community, I believe it is our duty to be vigilant and to stand together against the spread of such harmful influences. See, I think we have to educate ourselves and our loved ones about the warning signs of cult behavior. And that's why I'm doing the show tonight. We must foster critical thinking and emotional resilience, equipping ourselves to recognize and to resist the manipulative tactics employed by these groups, and even worse, by these serpent leaders. Above all, we must offer our support and understanding to those who may be at risk of falling prey to these cult grip. Guys, I think we have to create an environment where open dialogue and compassion prevail, where individuals feel safe to seek help and guidance. We have to remember that each and every one of us is worthy of dignity and freedom. We have to stay united in our commitment to protect the vulnerable, uphold the sanctity of our families and communities. And I think together we can shine a light on these on this darkness of deception. And it is deception. We have to offer hope and a path of healing to those who have been ensnared by these dangerous movements. My prayer is that we find the courage to confront this challenge with the unwavering resolve, and may we also extend a helping hand to those who need it most. And so in doing so, then we honor the values of love, compassion, truth that binds us together as a community, but we honor the true meaning of love. Love is not about deception. Love is not about a cunning serpent cult leader forcing you to surrender all of your belongings to them so they can enjoy it and then control and manipulate. That's not love. That is a cult leader. Tonight, I'm going to be talking to someone that has inside information, if you will, on a cult And I absolutely am convinced, in my opinion, this is a cult. And I absolutely am convinced that the leader was a cult leader. And I'm going to tell you why in just a second. If you've not seen the HBO documentary or HBO Max documentary called Love Has Won, you need to do this afterwards. It will shock you. I mean, it will truly shock you. So tonight, you're going to get more information that really wasn't shown on the documentary, because I think it's imperative that you do. I think you get all the information so that you can make the best decision on, okay, is this a group that I want to stay away from? And the answer is yes. Or is this a group that I want to learn more about and tell everybody stay away from? And I think the answer is yes. So tonight, I have a special guest on this evening, and her name is Laura. And so she, I guess, knows a bit about this group. So let's just say, hello, how are you doing this evening, Laura? I am doing fantastic. Let me just turn you up there. So let me tell you, let me ask, tell us a little bit about yourself and just introduce yourself to the audience.
Well, I'm Laura, and I'm a part of the group called Rising Above Love Has Won. And it's a group that me and some ladies from across the country started a couple years ago when we all had family members or friends or loved ones who were in Love Has Won at the time. And so we started this group to bring awareness about the abuse and the dangers occurring in Love Has Won. And we wanted to be a resource for those who had friends or family members and didn't really know how to contact them or handle it, or for maybe people who wanted to leave the group and didn't have the resources or know how to do it.
Okay, now that's very important. So I would imagine there are still members out there. Perhaps maybe they're watching this now or later, and maybe they want to get help. Maybe they're like, you know what? After some reflecting, I could see where I might have been bamboozled, if you would. So they can reach out to your organization and you could say, yep, we can at least give you assistance so that they can kind of get back on the road to recovery.
Well, I mean, it was mostly made for when there was the group where people were going to live in the house and we would help get resources to get them home. But we do have resources on our website, and we can point them to like experts that can help them to, they call it deprogramming, but I don't think that's a word that they would like us to use. So they would be people that could help them to change their mind back to the way it was before and I'm going to call it a high control group, because I think cult can be offensive to people who might be in a group like that, and it will make them kind of stop listening to what you're saying. So I do my best to use the word high control group.
Well, it's interesting because I have a friend that's in the chat room. He's a good friend of mine, Reverend Andrew Bennett, who's a Benedictine, good guy. And he's actually a licensed mental health therapist as well. And what he actually, in my opening dialogue, he had mentioned that most Messiah people who have the Messiah complex have what's called cluster B traits and disorders, which is pretty interesting. He says that all possess what is called the dark triad, which is that's narcissistic entitlement. It's all about me. That's what it means. Psychopathy, which is exploitive with a lack of empathy. And then Machiavellian, highly and sadistically manipulative. And let me tell you something tonight, my friends. I'm going to tell you something. You're going to hear about the leader of this cult. Love Has Won, and it's going to trouble you. But if you don't know the story, listen to this. So you started the organization called, or the group called Rising Above Love Has Won. Because, by the way, Love Has Won is the documentary, for those of you who are getting a little confused. So they started the group Rising Above Love Has Won, because the group was called Love Has Won. So what has Rising Above Love Has Won done since it actually started?
Well, we've been a place where family and friends of those in Love Has Won could reach out and ask for advice. Like if they are wondering how to talk with their daughter or something who's in the group because she's not replying, or should I be telling her that she's doing the wrong thing and in this group and needs to leave? No. So we kind of talk with them about the language to use and how to talk to the person who was in the group to just keep the line of communication open, because that's the most important thing. And then besides that, when people were still in living like as a group together, we did help a couple people get home or get resources when they were either kicked out or they chose to leave. And then we've always just been posting things to raise awareness about the dangers in the group and just resources in general about high control groups, but especially about Love Has Won.
And keep in mind, folks, this group, and you'll learn about this in just a second, but this group, when you basically join, you have to give everything, and I mean everything, to the group, everything. You're left with nothing. So now they have full control of you. So here's the $1 million question in case people don't know. What is Love Has Won?
Well, before I answer that, I first want to say that anyone can fall into a group like this if they are in a vulnerable state in their life. This group had all different ages, different faith backgrounds, different professions, and they were from all around the world. So don't think you're too smart or too logical or anything and you'll never fall for something like this, because you have no idea what place these people were in their lives. And I think it's really important for people to not come in with judgment and just think, well, these must have been a bunch of idiots.
Right.
Because these are very smart, driven people. And that is typically what high control groups look for. They look for people who are maybe in a bad place in their life and they're looking for purpose and acceptance, and they'll come in and work hard. And that's what these people did.
Sure.
But besides that, what?
Yeah, absolutely. And we see cults from, throughout history. That brilliant people have been members of it. So that's good that you said that. And I echo that. Just because someone joins a cult, that doesn't mean we should ever diminish the person. We should never diminish anyone's value. But we also have to understand that some people may be vulnerable, emotionally, physically, psychologically, spiritually vulnerable. And these cult leaders know this. So that's what's so dangerous about that, because it doesn't mean that person who joins them is inferior. We should never, ever. We should understand and have empathy. And that's the big difference between, Heaven's Gate, for goodness sakes, folks, that was a cult. And there were brilliant, really brilliant members within Heaven's Gate. Okay, so tell us a little, who is Love Has Won?
So Love Has Won is a group that was started by Amy Carlson around 2013. And around the earlier time, this guy named Miguel came in, and you saw him on the documentary. Amy started off just getting messages from the Galactics. I'm not even really sure who that is, but somebody out there. And she started doing live streams talking about that and doing what she called etheric surgeries on people. So like they would call her or FaceTime her and they would talk about things. And she said that she would cure anything from a headache to cancer with those.
Now, how did you know how she would do this? So someone would just do a Skype and say, okay, can you do surgery on my, my stomach? It has major problems. And she would actually just zoom.
Mentally.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. So that's kind of how it got started. And that's how people were drawn in. And then, through the years, people came and they went, but Miguel stayed the whole time. It was Amy and Miguel till the end.
Okay.
So don't forget about Miguel. He'll come back later. But through the internet, they grew and grew, and more people came and went, and their group started growing. More and more people were living in the house and following them online. It never got to be super big, but it did grow as their social media presence grew, and they use social media a lot to grow their following.
Now, what about her claiming she's God? What is this about?
She decided that she was Mother God, Mother Earth, Mother God, and then it started going to where she was Jesus, and she was Marilyn Monroe in a past life, and Cleopatra, and all these different people.
How many lifetimes does she say that she actually lived?
So according to their beliefs, their basic beliefs were Amy is God, Mother God, and that she was here on her 534th lifetime. She's been assassinated and taken out a whole bunch of times, but this was going to be the time where she changed everything. And they believed that our only purpose was to serve Amy so that she could serve the world and move this world from the 3D, which is our reality, to the 5D, which is like a higher reality. And that they said the whole time, if Amy dies, we all die. And if you don't worship her, you're going to be recycled to the galactic sun. Now, this language sounds weird, and you'll hear more about that later in the cult or the high control group tactics, but they had a lot of language that, just they used. But basically, recycled to the galactic sun was you're gonna be gone.
So if you don't worship Amy, they say you'll be recycled to the galactic sun, and that if Amy dies, we all die.
Yes, that was the thing. Scary. We had to protect Amy. That was their thing. We have to. Well, they called her mom. I refused to call her mom, but we have to keep her well. We have to heal her body. We have to do all these things. And one might ask, if someone is God, why is their physical body so bad? And they would say, well, her physical body is so bad because she is Mother Earth. And since humanity is attacking Mother Earth and not recognizing her as God, then her body was deteriorating.
So because we're not protecting the earth, that affected her body?
Yes, and because we weren't, seeing her as God, that was affecting her body. So everyone needed to get in quote unquote right action. And then Amy would then ascend into the starships, like a literal ship would come get her mind or body and soul. And we would move into the 5D or the fifth dimension, where it's like utopia. And all these pesky things like jobs and families and money and responsibility don't exist, and they're no longer necessary. And then they also believed that Mother God had a Father God. So she always had a guy with her who was Father God, but they were shifted out quite a few times whenever she got bored with them.
So,
and at the end, the Father God was Jason Castillo, who you see on the documentary, and who was portrayed as the only bad guy in the cult on that documentary. And
I did notice on the documentary, it seems like, well, okay, now I'm going to go to this guy, and he's now Father God. Well, I'm going to go to this guy. Well, he's Father God. Well, now he's not Father God. He's Father God of the universe, or this God is Father God of the plan, or this guy. And it's like, really, dude, seriously. I mean, this is so, wow.
Their beliefs changed daily on some things.
Okay. And so they believe that her body would eventually ascend to, like, where?
A starship was going to come get her. Like a literal spaceship was going to come get her.
Okay.
And when it was close to when she was really not doing well physically, Jason would go outside. And have you ever seen those light up balls? Like at night, you can throw them up in the air and they like, he would go out. Well, somebody was out there throwing that up in the air, and he would film it, and he would be like, the starships are coming for Mama. Everybody get ready. And that was always send more money. They're almost here. Send more money.
Wow.
But that's the kind of stuff that they would do. And the followers believed it. But, us watching it, we're like, hey, that's one of those balls that someone's throwing up in the air. Surely people know that.
Now,
but they believed it was a starship.
Now, keep in mind, for transparency reasons, folks, I did see their live stream when they were in Hawaii. That's when I was first introduced. That's when I first met or saw these group going on YouTube. They were in Hawaii, and I remember them saying everything was so wonderful. It was the greatest place in the world. The people love us. You need to come. You need to stop what you're doing. You need to get on the plane and come. And they were just selling it. I mean, they were selling it hook, line, and sinker. However, I found out a little bit more information that their life in Hawaii wasn't that great. But boy, they were painting a pretty picture. But we'll talk about that in just a second. So, all right, Laura, tell us, then how did you get involved with Love Has Won?
I had a family member who was in Love Has Won for years. And when that family member dropped everything and went to go be with Amy and be in this group, me and my other family members started watching their live streams to see what was going on with our family member and to see like what this group was all about. And yeah, that's how I got involved with it.
And so now I know that you watched the live stream. What did you think of when you were watching these live streams?
I was surprised by the amount of love bombing. And for people that don't know what that means, it's basically a manipulation tactic where you try to make people just feel important and loved with all this flowery, just overly affectionate language with someone that you would never use, someone that you don't know. But it's to manipulate people and to make them feel like you love them and you care about them. Everyone that chatted with them or anything, hi love, how are you today? Oh, hi love. It wasn't real, but people who are vulnerable like it, and they think that that's real, but it wasn't. It was just to bring them in. And then also just like the weird language, kind of like, the galactic sun and the starships.
Yeah.
There was just a lot of stuff that I didn't know what it meant. And again, I'll talk about later why they do that. But the biggest thing I noticed was this God that they talked about, Amy, was so vulgar all the time.
I concur.
And she was usually drunk or high, screaming, aggressive, crass. And she was just like, yeah, she would be nice to people sometimes, but sometimes she was just so mean to the people who were there and gave up everything for her. Yeah, it was just like, how does someone think that this person is God?
I will echo what you're saying and support it 1,000,000%. When I watched it on YouTube, she was in the other room, and she was, dropping F-bombs. She was calling people a female dog, and a female prostitute, starting with an H. I mean, she would call people. She would call people these names. Shut up, you. Shut up, you B, or shut up, you H, or W, H, O. You know what? But it was. She would. It was vulgar. It was. We're talking. This was live, and I watched it on YouTube, and I thought, my gosh, these people, and then they try to sit there and say, oh, this is just so lovely. That's just Mosh. That's just her way of showing us that she loves us. No, that's a woman. Go ahead.
So says the abused person.
Yes. So Amy Carlson, that is who her name was. And the reason is we're using her as name was. There's a reason for that. We'll talk about that in just a moment. So they called her Mother God. All of her followers called her mother or mom. Now they
called her mom most of the time.
Okay. And you had a family member that was involved in this. So the documentary Love Is One on HBO Max showed Amy, and this is my opinion, showed her sometimes as a misunderstood, loving, a light worker. They did show sometimes some negative side. They did show some sides that she was aggressive, but it was a little, nothing to like it really was in real life, guys. And that's just my opinion, because when I watched that YouTube video, it was F-bomb this, F-bomb that. And so based on what you viewed, okay, when you watched it and their live stream for years, and they, by the way, one thing they did very well, I will tell you, is they were online, and they were online everywhere. It was always raising money. They were constantly all the time. Mm-hmm. So based on what you saw with their live stream for years, and in your experience with your family member, tell us, what was Amy Carlson like? The person who claimed to be God. What was she like?
Well, from what I saw and witnessed with my family member, she really only seemed to care about herself. She left young children and her family to go be a group leader and to call herself God. And even down to where she had people document everything she did, because she said one day it would be like the Bible. Like they wrote down what she ate. that she saw a butterfly, that she had a glass of water. She had people just worshiping her, but they said they didn't worship her.
Well, that is worship.
She was, yes, that is worship. She was very manipulative, and my family member, of course, would never say that, but she was. One minute she loved you and thought you were the greatest thing in the universe, and the next minute you weren't allowed to be in her presence. And this, of course, is very confusing to anyone and really messes with their emotions and their psychology. So it makes people, so they're always trying to get back in their good graces, whatever it takes, whether that was not eating, not sleeping, emotionally abusing someone else, bullying someone on the live stream, whatever it took, they would do it and to get back in her good graces. And then she would treat them like trash again. So it was just like the classic abuse cycle that she knew how to do it very well. And there's even, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, for those of you who are just joining, I'm Bishop Long. We're speaking to Laura, and Laura had, she has a family member that was involved with, in my opinion, the cult called Love Has Won, WON. And for those who don't know, HBO Max did a documentary on this Love Has Won cult. And it was, again, there were a lot of things that were left out because I know a little bit about this cult through my own personal research. But I think it's important for us to present this information to you so that you can get a different perspective as well. And because again, when you hear from Laura's perspective as having a family member involved in this cult, it is so troubling. Some of the things behind the scenes that you may not know about. And I got to tell you something, it gets worse. This conversation is going to get worse. So I'm just giving you heads up now. If you're not familiar with this cult or the documentary, you're going to be quite surprised in a moment. So we talked about her being abusive. And now I believe she was certainly abusive on the YouTube. Am I verbally abusive? No ifs, ands, or buts about that. But yeah, is there a place where people can see or hear this? Or what when you talk about abusive, what would she do?
Well, she was verbally abusive to a lot of people and emotionally abusive. And then there's one infamous video where she is teaching some of her godly parenting, where there's this child who is crying because some people brought their kids to the house. This child is just crying and crying, and she just keeps telling them to put this child in a dark closet. And they bring the child out, and it's still crying. Back in the closet, put her back. And that was on. By the way, Dr. Phil interviewed her. Yeah.
And he said this is abuse. I mean, this is absolutely abuse. And to be fair, Amy's own mother went on Dr. Phil's show and said she's not God. She's not God. And so that she made it very clear. What else did she do that you're familiar with?
Well, there are, we have a YouTube channel that's Rising Above Love Has Won. And there's a lot of video clips up there showing, Amy and the group with some of the things I'm going to be talking about. If people want to go see what the group was really like.
It's called, I'm sorry, say it again so everybody can know.
Rising Above Love Has Won. Okay,
Rising Above Love. So moderators, if you could put that in the chat room, Rising Above Love Has Won, WON. It's on YouTube. Make sure you guys go there. You got to check that out. I watched it. It's quite troubling. So Rising Above Love Has Won. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And there's videos there of her like screaming at someone for bringing her the wrong food. Like she wanted chicken Parmesan and they brought spaghetti and she just ripped into them. I mean, she was beautiful when the group started, and then it started to grow. And there was just this anger that kind of snuck out every once in a while. And as time went on, she just got more drunk and high and vulgar on camera than she was in the beginning. And she was kind of in the beginning. She just screams at people and threatens humanity as all a part of her victim shtick. That's why she's in the state she's in, because of humanity. And she would just screaming threats at people.
And she would call people vulgarities using the B word.
Yes.
and the W. Again, you guys can understand that. Like, why would she scream at them? Because what was the reason for that?
Oh, if they weren't donating enough money, or if they didn't think that she was God, or if they wrote a bad article about her, or if she just all kinds of things made her mad.
And they can see this on Rising Above Love Has Won on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, on YouTube, if you just go to that channel on there.
Tell us about the cat situation, because I saw that as well on Dr. Phil.
Yeah, there's a video of her where she's treating a cat questionably. And we took that video and combined it with the group saying why it was okay. So it's just interesting to see how they could, kind of form their opinion about it and make it okay in their head.
Yeah, in my opinion, look, I love animals. In my opinion, which I'm entitled to, that was abuse. That was animal abuse. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's just my opinion.
And they film it all. And you would think that with all this video documentation, the group would have been shut down a long time ago, but it wasn't. But they loved to film themselves bullying people and emotionally abusing people and keeping people up for over, days at a time and showing how tired they were. No shame.
So, yeah, obviously, I mean, but they were so brainwashed. They were so brainwashed. It was so sad to see this.
Yes. And they even filmed Amy being completely intoxicated and high on camera. She even passed out sometimes. She'd be slurring her words while she was screaming at people for not thinking that she was God. It was just, wow. It's still mind-boggling to me that anyone could think that she was God.
Now, when you talked about how when she would be in a relationship with these men, she'd call them Father God. How many father gods did she claim there were, and how do we know who they were?
Well, we went through a bunch of the videos that they had posted over the years, and from 2013 to 2018, we were able to identify at least 6 father gods.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's
which of course diminishes the title a little bit when it changes so often.
Didn't she mention I think on Dr. Phil, I thought she had mentioned she had cancer or something of this nature. Am I incorrect on that?
No, when she was on Dr. Phil, she was being dishonest as usual. And she said that she had stage 5 cancer, which doesn't exist.
Stage 4 cancer. Yeah, stage 5 cancer. Yeah, that's only 4 stages.
But she said that stage 5 is when it goes into your bones. And of course, she never went to a hospital, so she wouldn't know if she had cancer. And her autopsy results, because she did die, spoiler alert, her autopsy results showed no cancer at all.
We'll talk about her death in a moment. So now I believe she also claimed she was paralyzed, or?
Yeah, towards the end, she claimed that she was paralyzed from the chest down when they were taking videos of her that clearly showed that she wasn't paralyzed from the chest down. So, I mean, that's the kind of videos that we have on our YouTube channel that just show what they say, and then we show the reality to just show it wasn't true.
So here, this is an important question, because a lot of people think, well, how can people just fall into this? And we have to understand, in my opinion, I don't believe Amy Carlson was the only one manipulating people. So I know the documentary showed this group as a sort of a spiritual community that just like had fun together and worshiped Amy, but do you think that's an accurate portrayal of this group?
No, this group, and particularly Amy, but she did train others well, was very abusive physically, mentally, and emotionally. And I'm not saying that they physically beat up people a lot, but what they put their bodies through with sleep deprivation and food restriction is what I mostly mean by physically abusive. But the group was very abusive physically, mentally, and emotionally, and they did all they could to gain control over the members' minds and their whole lives.
So what were some of the ways that the group gained control over the members?
Well, kind of like I said before, Amy was a master manipulator. I mean, she really did have a gift of drawing people in and making them feel special, making them feel like they were kind of a god too. Wow. And where people were at in their life, a lot of them felt a lot of fulfillment in that. They were looking to have a purpose. They were looking to help. They were looking to save the world. And so this was a way that they felt like they were doing that. And then,
wow.
And then the group just used so many of the textbook high control group tactics. So love bombing, where they make the followers feel important and needed and tell them how much they love them all the time, and clap when they call in and just act like they're the best person in the world to get them drawn in. Whenever somebody went there, they changed their name.
No, wait. Who are they?
Whenever someone went to be in the group, or even some people who didn't go in, they just were part of the chat or the social media community.
Sure.
They got a new name.
By Amy?
Sometimes by Amy, sometimes they picked it, sometimes other people gave it to them, but they got a new name. And while this may not seem like a big thing, I mean, they had some cool names. They were Buddha, Mother Mary, Aurora, all these really pretty names. What the tactic is that it dehumanizes you. It separates you from your true self, and you become more of, the cult experts call it your cult self.
Wow. So
changing their name it starts to change their identity and puts their true self further and further down. Yeah,
it's just like, well, this is who you are from now on. And I believe even Miguel was Michael. Didn't they call him Michael, like Saint Michael?
Yes, he was Archangel Michael.
Good grief. And what about of course, the money situation?
Yeah, the money, they were supposed to hand over all money when they came there. And that, of course, traps them there. If they want to leave, they had nothing. And there were some really, there's just really one sad story that was put on the live stream about that. And it's on the YouTube channel. But this older lady, she had saved some of her money secretly, and she was going to use it to buy some quilting supplies. And Archangel Michael, the lovely being that he is, found out about it and got her in trouble. And then she had to come on the live stream and apologize to everyone and talk about how that was wrong. And so you can see kind of what that was like on the YouTube channel. They did things like that often. And on the documentary, the girl talked about how she wanted to go get pizza when she got there. And Michael told her, no, you can't do that. Their money was no longer theirs.
And of course, you having a family member that was a member, they cut off, they demanded that, or did they demand that their relationships with their family had to be stopped?
They did not demand it, but they did all that they could to try to make the members of the group think that their family did not care about them, was trying to stop their growth to being a better person, and was basically just holding them down. It was constant. Anyone who maintained a relationship with their family through that, which thankfully my family member did, was a strong person, and they had a strong connection with their family, because believe me, Love Has Won did everything they could to try to make you see your family as bad.
Tell us about this individual, this woman who joined this cult in Europe. This is disturbing.
I'm not exactly sure. I put Europe, but now I'm questioning that. She was from an international country. I'm not sure which one.
Sure.
She had lost her husband recently and was in such a state of grief when she found this group online. And they had convinced her that she needed to come to mission, which meant come live with the group. And she had her two young girls, and her two young girls were her only family living in whatever country she was in. But her family knew that she was going to go be in the group. Mm-hmm. So I guess her family reported her. Social services stopped her at the airport with her children. She left her children to be with the state to go be with Amy.
Wow.
That is how much mind control they had over these members.
Can you imagine?
Left her children to be with social services. There was no other family of hers there that could have taken them. Left to go be with Amy.
I I can't fathom it. I'm not a parent.
Yeah.
I'm not a parent, but I used to have fur babies, the four-legged creatures. And let me tell you something, they were my world, and I would never do anything, even to a fur baby, let alone to my child. There are no words. So you had mentioned,
and there was another girl in there who left behind 4 children to go be with the group. And she was one of the most emotionally abused people by Amy and the other members. But in the way that they melded her mind, she made it okay. And she was one of their most loyal servants.
God, well, that's terrible. Now, because
Yeah.
you had mentioned briefly about sleep deprivation, and that's one of the tactics that you said that they did. Tell us a little more, if we can kind of get into what they did.
Well, they just would not let them sleep a lot. And as time went on, they really started getting in on this thing of, if you are in your higher consciousness, you don't need a lot of sleep. So 5 or less hours is what they wanted people to be doing. But if you could do less, better. And they would get on the live stream and say, I only slept 3 hours last night and I feel great. And they have videos, again, on our YouTube channel of everyone sitting there sleep deprived, being forced to do this live stream. And they really look like prisoners of war.
Wow.
While Amy's just screaming in the background obscenities and other things like that. And there's another video on there of Jason taunting one of the members who probably hasn't really slept in days. And you can just see his eyes, and he can't even really form a sentence. He's so tired.
Yeah. And Jason, by the way, Jason, it was the last father
God.
Yeah. And didn't they have to check up on Amy or something of this nature?
Yeah. That same member who was being taunted by Jason on the video, Father God, that same member was told by another member of the group that he wasn't doing a good enough job checking up on Amy, and to set his alarm for every 10 minutes through the night to check on her. Now, I don't know about you, but if I don't get like at least 6 or 7 hours of sleep, my mind is not working correctly. And they know that. So they had them sleep less and less so that they couldn't think. They could not think clearly. They don't question, they don't think. And that moves the same with food restriction. If you're hungry all the time and you're weak and you're tired, you can't think. And a lot of people had really severe weight loss when they went there because they were offered so little food.
Well, that is true. I mean, you can actually see the progression that I did. You saw the progression when they first started, and they looked healthy. And then as it progresses, like, my gosh, they are really, losing weight. I mean, it was severe. I mean, it's quite clear.
Yeah, they were losing weight, and they were stressed all the time too, because Amy always needed something. We had to do something. So they were all in fight or flight mode for years. If you look at the people who, when they got there to 2, 3, 4 years later, they aged so quickly. It's really sad.
So what about this requiring that they have to confess things that they didn't even do, because Amy had this whim that they must have done something? And I believe that you had mentioned when I spoke to you that there were some examples of that on your YouTube channel, Rising Above Love Has Won.
Yeah, I mean, just the mental and emotional abuse. They would just choose someone every once in a while on the live stream and go at them for like 3 hours. They would make them cry. They would make them say that they did things they didn't even do. Of course, they wouldn't admit that, but that's what they were doing. And the person who was being bullied would just say, okay, fine, I did it, to just end it. And there are videos of that. It was very cruel.
And it even got to a point, from my understanding, is that the men, it was so controlled, folks, from my understanding, that tell us about how the men were required to use the facilities.
Yeah, there were a lot of ways that they controlled them, but then there were just some kooky things that they did. The men they were told that they were not allowed to urinate standing up. They needed to sit down because standing up was too much in their masculine, and they need to be more in touch with their feminine energy.
Folks, I mean, when you control people to the point where now you tell them how they have to use the restroom, that is it. The whole thing reeks of disgust. This is beyond. I mean, this is truly emotionally, psychological, spiritual, physical. This is abuse to an extreme level, and it's sad.
Well, yeah, and all these things that they did, and there were other things, of course, but it was all to make it so they can't think. And according to the cult experts, their brains are literally rewired to run a completely different way when they're in these groups, so that they lose their true self and they focus obsessively on the group and the leader. So if they decide to leave for any reason, which many have, it's hard for them to get back into the normal real world because they can't snap out of it. They think basically anything except for Amy is useless, and there's no point in participating in with money, family, friends, working. It just doesn't matter. And it's, as you can probably imagine, that's not a good mindset to have when we are living on the earth.
Now, I know we talked about stopping at the top of the hour, but do you mind if we go over? Because I mean, this is conversation. People are really enjoying it and they want to.
No, sure.
Okay. So how did this group then make the money that they needed in order to pay the bills?
Well, they were always wanting donations. And Amy always said that she wanted to build these rainbow schools. So they had themselves set up as a nonprofit to be able to raise donations for these schools. So all these people were giving money, but it was all just going to Amy.
Wow.
And some of the money that she would spend things on were cell phone games. There were grown adults sitting there asking for people to donate to Mama's Game Fund. And she had these people convinced that her sitting there playing cell phone games, like where you dress a person up or where you like work a fake restaurant, that was her helping the universe.
So did they ever build a rainbow school, or they just took money in 501c3 and defrauded the government? I mean, did they ever build? So they never built rainbows?
No, she got her cell phone games, any food she wanted, a go-kart, sparkly dresses, bows, stuffed animals, and things to decorate her room. And they'd travel to like ski chalets in Hawaii and everything, but no schools.
I don't understand how these people were not arrested for defrauding the government. I mean, you have a 501c3.
We submitted forms to the IRS many times and nothing ever happened.
So what did they sell? What did they sell to raise money? Do you know?
They would sell their etheric surgeries were a big thing. And they would make homemade beauty products and candles, which they did make some pretty candles. Mm-hmm. They made homemade colloidal silver, which looked like dirty pond water, and art that Jason and Amy made. I'm sure you can imagine what that looked like.
And keep in mind,
at one point,
and keep in mind, they were saying that this silver that they created cured everything. I mean, they were saying it can cure this, X, Y, Z. You have it, it can cure it, and it makes you turn blue. Because
if you drink a lot of it, yes, it does. A ton of it. If you drink a ton of it, it will make you turn blue.
Which she did. She was turning blue.
Which she was chugging it. Yes.
Okay. So were there any, I guess, legally questionable things within the group? I mean, we've already discussed some of the 501c3 and all the money went to her and they didn't have to build any schools, but what were the legally questionable things? I
mean, they had some green card marriages in there, and they lied to food banks to get donations when they were in all the places in the 48 states. But then when they went to Hawaii, they also called there to try to get donations and lied to them. The person who owns that food bank actually reached out, or they put the voicemail out public so that people could see these people coming to their island and trying to get free stuff from them, when all of these are people who are perfectly capable of working and having a job. I mean, they had food stamps and unemployment and everything. It's
being a 501c3. And okay.
Yeah, the 501c3, yeah.
So now Jason, the last father god that Amy claimed he was actually in the documentary. I think they did show that he was kind of not the best kind of guy. He was kind of shady, at least in my opinion. The documentary certainly made him to be. How do you feel about that?
Well, Jason isn't a great person. I will attest to that. I agree with that opinion, but he certainly was not the bad guy in the group. That was Amy.
Okay.
And I want to make that very clear to everyone listening that, I mean, he couldn't have done anything without Amy. He was drawn to Amy and he came out to the group to be a part of it. And she set him up on the stage to do whatever he wanted and cheered him on. And if he wasn't being abusive enough, she'd tell him to go harder and be more in his masculine because he was Father God. So he couldn't have done any of the abuse that he did without Amy giving him a platform and cheering him on. And she did.
Okay. And so we're going to answer that question because people are asking about, so because we're on online social media, we have to also be careful about certain words. So then how do you think he unalived Amy?
No, I don't think that he unalived her. I think she unalived herself.
Okay.
And they all let her and they went along with it. I think that she created this world and she didn't know how to get out of it. And she basically mostly ingested drugs and alcohol for the last year or so of her life with little to no food or sleep. That's what happened to Amy.
Now, what about, I mean, did they take her to the hospital? I mean, these people with love has won. Did they say, okay, at least you're sick, let's go to the hospital?
No. I think at one point they did say Amy asked to go to a hospital and she said, no, we're not going to take you there, because Amy had always been very against hospitals because they thought she taught. So they thought that hospitals would like kill her on purpose because she was God. So they didn't ever want to take her to a hospital.
So Amy clearly saw her life deteriorating, was obviously afraid, saying, I think I need to get to the hospital. She was unable to walk to get to the hospital. So who told her no?
Well, two of the girls on the live stream one day said that they said no when she asked.
I believe I saw that. Wasn't that on the documentary? I thought it was.
Yes.
And so they thought that, okay, so what did these members believe that was going to happen when Amy had passed away? What did they think was going to happen?
Well, she told them that she wouldn't die and that she would ascend with her body and that the starships were going to come and get her. So a literal spaceship was going to come and get her and her body was going to ascend into it. And I would think that must have been a really hard realization for them to have when she did die, body and all. And I hope it made some of them question everything that they believed, but sadly the doc showed that most of them still believe it all.
Now, Miguel, who is this Miguel guy that we talked about this in the beginning?
He was with Amy from pretty early on in the group, and he was very manipulative along with Amy. And he was the one that was always in control of the finances and the property. And he was one that helped kind of instill all these rules to get the group running like he knew would be the most profitable for him and Amy.
Okay. And then obviously they had the money. So what happened to the money when she passed?
So when she passed, Miguel took the property, the cars, the money, and ran.
And do we know
all the money that was supposed to be for the schools, for the nonprofit?
Do we know how much money we're talking about?
It was about $300-something thousand.
Folks, now listen to this. Listen. I want you to wrap your mind around this. So this group had roughly, let's say, $250,000, $300,000 from a woman who went around claiming that she was Mother God, yelling and screaming and hollering and cursing her followers out, who gave up everything to live with this woman and serve her like a god. And she had the audacity to scream and yell and curse at them. And they had $250,000, $300,000 in their account.
And that was sent in to help Amy that was sent in for food, cell phone games, travel, her medicine. That's what people were sending it in for, to help Amy get to 100% joy level. Those are the reasons that money was sent in.
Okay, so here's the deal. So Amy passed away. She ultimately, she looked terrible. I saw the last of the
Yes.
pictures, and she was unbelievably malnourished. She was blue
Yes.
because of all the silver she was ingesting, and the alcohol, the incredible amount of alcohol that she was drinking. She looked absolutely horrible. No one deserved. But
Yes.
I in the documentary, the police showed up at Jason and the rest of the group members that had remained. Tell the audience, if they don't know, what did the police find in the home with the rest of these group members?
They found her body in her room, mummified. They did their best to home mummify it, and they had Christmas lights wrapped all around her.
And she was wrapped. She was laid in a bed, Christmas
Yes.
lights everywhere. She was mummified, and
makeup on her face. They put like this, makeup on her face.
I'm just curious. I don't know if you know this, but did they think she was going to resurrect?
Well, yeah, that's what they said on the documentary. They thought that she was. Well, they say that when the police got there, she still had a pulse.
She was a mummified body. There was no pulse in that thing. I mean, you could tell. There was no eyes.
Right. Yeah.
And they believe she had a pulse.
Yes. And they did. I mean, they kept her. She died, I don't know how many days before the police got there. They kept thinking that she was going to resurrect or ascend.
It truly breaks my heart that the people that join your family member, that joined this cult, had been so victimized and utterly just reduced to a point where logic no longer exists.
Yes, they were under mind control. Yes, the cult or the high control group had successfully. I mean, it literally does rewire their brain to where it takes away critical thinking and questioning, and you just go along with it.
Patty Lynn is asking again that the documentary that Max just did not too long ago was called Love Has Won. It's based on Amy Carlson, the group called Love Has Won, where she claimed to be Mother God. She claimed to be God. She claimed that she was Jesus, and she was Marilyn Monroe, and who knows how many other people that she claimed to be.
So many.
Yeah, and from my understanding, now Maui didn't go in Hawaii. Maui didn't go so well because when she arrived, didn't she say something like, well, not only am I Mother God, but I'm going to be some, was it a volcano god or something of this nature?
Yeah.
And,
yes, she said that she was a Hawaiian god, and that really made the Hawaiian people angry. And so they rallied together and got him to leave the island.
So now that Amy has passed and she was not resurrected, she did not have a pulse. She had a mummified body that they kept in her house for a month or more, perhaps. What do you think of all of this?
I think it's all really sad. I think it's sad that Amy died when she could have been helped. I think it's sad how many lives have been affected and ruined by Amy and this group. Some of the former members are okay, but others really aren't. They're struggling with mental health issues. They still cannot think critically because they refuse to believe that was not real. And they don't have jobs or friends or purpose. They feel no fulfillment because what their focus, their addiction, their obsession is gone. And it's all really sad. And so it's not just the person who was in the group that's affected. Their family and friends, our lives are forever changed as well, because their person is kind of never came back.
And for those of you, again, I encourage you, I really encourage you to go to their YouTube page, this group, Laura's, group. It's Rising Above. Love Has Won. Because because I went there in preparation for the presentation, this obviously for today's show, and there's a lot of videos there that will give you a different perspective than the documentary, and give you more information, which I think is really, really important. And I watched several videos and I was just stunned.
Yeah, it's still mind-boggling to me. It's still just mind-boggling.
So let me ask you, if someone thinks like you, I mean, you had a loved one, or if you have a family or friend member, and they're falling into a similar group, then what should that person do? I can't imagine you feeling so almost helpless.
It is a very helpless feeling, and you have to tread so carefully because they are being trained that you are out to get them and you're trying to stop them from growth into a higher being. You as in their family and friends who are their real support system. So you always have to be kind and understanding, and don't give that group any ammo to say, see, they don't care about you. They're trying to keep you trapped and control you, when really that's what the high control group is trying to do. So just, never call them crazy for believing in something, or stupid. Anything like that's just going to push them away. And using words like cult and brainwashed are just things that, nobody wants to hear that they're brainwashed. So just always try to say things in a way that's respectful, and try to see their point of view, but also,
yeah,
don't fully support it or anything. So it's a very tricky thing.
Yeah. So someone, as clergy, as an exorcist for the church, someone was asking me, is this pure mental, or could there be evil partial possession in the picture? I don't believe this is possession at all, because Amy knew what she was doing the entire time. As a matter of fact, even when Amy was sick, very, very sick, and she saw her life deteriorating, she even told some of the from the group members, maybe I'm not really Mother God. Maybe I need to go to the hospital. She knew what she was doing. She was in full control of her faculties. She absolutely knew 100% what she was doing. So I in this case, no, I don't think is a form of possession. Now, certainly it could be demonic influence, no question about that. But as far as possession, no, I would, as an exorcist, I would rule that out. That's just me. But how have you? Let me ask you this on a personal note, if you don't mind. You having a family member who was a part of this group. If you had the opportunity, which now you do on many platforms and social media, if they're watching this later, is there anything particular that you would say to them that you really want them to understand, that you're not judging, you're not condemning, you just want to show love, compassion, you want to help?
Well, I think if they ever heard this, they probably would never talk to me again. But I would just say that I'm not judging. We all, sometimes start maybe following or listening or watching things that can make us think one way, and then later we find out that maybe it wasn't true, and we learn more things and can make different decisions. And no one's going to judge you for what you thought in the past, and there's a lot of life ahead of you, and we'd all love to be a part of it. And you have so much potential. You're so smart. You're just like an awesome guy, and we all love you, and your family, your immediate family, loves you so much.
And I think that's very, very important. If the person watches this later, to understand that you come here out of love and saying, and compassion and support and non-judgmental. I mean, that's so important. We have to understand people who fall into these traps, to these master manipulators. Remember, we have to be careful about judging the people who are manipulated. We have to place the blame where it lies. There are leaders, world leaders, who manipulated an entire country. So we have to be cautious about judging and condemning those who are manipulated out of fear or torture. There's so a variety of things that they've done to these poor people. And
I mean, most of us in our daily lives have been manipulated. I mean, yeah, I can think of an ex or two that totally manipulated me. And then when I was in it, I didn't see it, and I would never admit that. But afterwards, it's like, oh yeah, I was totally love bombed.
So yeah. Well,
it can happen to anybody in all kinds of different situations. So this was just a pretty extreme situation. And I think it helps for people to realize that, well, yeah, that person, my friend manipulated me, or yeah, my ex did that to me. So it's really not that different from this. This was just on a bigger, more extreme scale.
Very, very well said. And I'm not going to promote this new group that they're doing. Not here. We're not doing it. However,
thank you.
No. We're not going to give poison. I'm not going to feed poison into people. But here's what I will say, because I think it's important, and I think it is very important because there's a lot of questions that I'm being asked. Well, where's this group now? So I think we have to at least address that question. So love has won. Does the group exist anymore?
The group, when Amy died, the group kind of broke off into kind of two groups. Okay. One, Jason kept his Father God thing going, and that's got a couple people following it. I think he's in jail right now, though, for the second or third time since Amy has died. And then there is another kind of section of people that are still doing some stuff. So
they're still out there, preaching.
They're still out there talking about mom and Mother God and all that.
So they're still there. Yes. Wait. So even though Amy has passed, there was a mummified body. There was no pulse. She died. She didn't ascend to an ET spaceship. She's not there, and they're still preaching that she was God.
Yes. Mind control is a very powerful thing, and wow. And the cult experts will tell you, unless you get help or step away from it, where you're not thinking about it, reading about it, talking about it all the time, you can't change those pathways and start to think critically about it.
Well, let me tell you something. This has been a profound interview. I absolutely am so appreciative of you taking the time and talking to us about this documentary, because I think it's important. Again, what you need to do, guys, you need to go to YouTube and you need to type in Rising Above, Love Has Won, WON, Rising Above, Love Has Won. And you need to go to this site and you need to look at the videos and educate yourself. That this is important. It really is important. Now, you guys also have a Facebook page, I believe?
Yes.
Okay. Is it also Rising Above, Love Has Won?
Yes. And we have that's our website as well.
Rising Above?
Actually, I think the website might be Rising Above LHW. If you Google it, we'll come up. Rising Above, Love Has Won. And there's a lot of resources on there for all different sorts of things with high control groups, and Love Has Won.
Yep, and it is. So let me just put that in the chat room so that everybody can see this now and later, so we can post that. For those of you who don't know, again, it's Rising Above LHW.com. So that is the website, their website, Rising Above LHW.com. Well, Laura, is there anything else that we have missed that you want to talk about, or are you pretty satisfied that you were able to get everything that you wanted to present?
I'm really happy that I had somewhere to talk about what the group was really like, because anyone who has been following this group for years, who watched the documentary, was quite disappointed in the portrayal or lack thereof of what Amy was really like, and also the group. The documentary made it look much more rainbow and bright than it was. It was a very dark group.
No doubt.
On the inside and sometimes on the outside, and they would video it for everyone to see. So.
Well, guys, and when you go to the YouTube channel, Rising Above Love Has Won, make sure you subscribe. You got to do that. Make sure you're staying in touch with the group. Subscribe. They would appreciate that because we really do have to get the word out about these cults because it's dangerous. There are a lot of cults even today.
Yeah, there's like over 1,000 in the United States. I've seen on a couple of cult documentaries. They said that.
Isn't that?
And especially with the internet, it's making it a lot easier for them to grow.
Isn't that scary that you're right. The internet is so big. It is so huge that there are so many people falling into these cults.
Well, you don't even have to leave your house and you can get sucked in.
You know what? That is so that is a very good point. You know what? That's 100% true. You're stuck. You're absolutely stuck. Yeah. You get caught in these things. And before you know it now, there was, here it is. This is information. I knew that I saw this earlier. You might be really interested in this one. Listen to this, everybody. According to experts, there's Professor Psychologist Steve Eichel. He says there are right now, up to 10,000 cults that still exist today in the United States.
I was off by a zero.
Well, that's scary.
Yeah, it is scary.
You can look. You could psychologist Steve Eichel. I think it's Eichel, Eichel, and he's an expert in cults. And he says there's over 10,000 cults that still exist today. That is troubling. Laura, thank you so much for spending this time with us. I sincerely appreciate that. And I'll reach out to you a little bit later after the show. And I hope you have a very blessed Christmas. And thank you again for spending the time with us.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, everybody. Well, that was Laura from Rising Above Love Has Won. I got to tell you, I applaud people like Laura. She's a whistleblower. She has a family member that was a part of this cult, as she said. And she has devoted and dedicated so much of her time, energy, and to let people know about these cults and the dangers they're in. It's a problem. It is a problem. And so I applaud her, and I applaud the group Rising Above Love Has Won, YouTube. So again, go to their site, risingabovelhw.com. risingabovelhw.com. And also, don't forget, go to your YouTube channel, Rising Above Love Has Won. And make sure you subscribe. Okay. So hopefully you have enjoyed it. And we appreciate Laura taking the time to chat with us. So thank you. Yeah, it's problematic, isn't it? Let me, since we're talking about cults very quickly, and then I'll answer we'll go into your questions. This is by Teen Vogue, for those of you who don't know. And it was a good article. And I thought I need to pass this on and at least tell you guys what it says. I think it's Sarah Lee who wrote this. It says cults can take many different forms. So like I mentioned, according to experts like Professor and psychologist Steve Eichel, up to 10,000 cults still exist today in the United States. Most exist under the radar, but there are some that are quite blunt. The universally agreed upon definition, according to this website, says of a cult is a group or movement with shared belief systems and a charismatic leader that seeks to isolate their members from the rest of society through psychological manipulation and pressure strategies, as we talked to Laura about. Now, this is important. Obviously, I'm clergy. So people say, what is the difference between a cult and a religion? Well, according to the author in this article, she says, the primary difference between a cult and a religion is social acceptance. Originally a term synonymous with worship and religious veneration, cult has evolved over the years and eventually gotten co-opted by sociology, according to University of Pennsylvania linguistics professor Robin Clark. See, somewhere in the 19th century, the word started referring to beliefs and practice deemed socially deviant. Ultimately, the difference that she says between emerging religions and what we consider a cult comes down to a matter of perspective. I kind of disagree, and I'll tell you why. You see, look, for Christianity, we worship God. Okay, no one else is God. We don't worship a leader. No leader should ever be worshiped, and certainly no leader should ever be given the title of God or Jesus. And if they do, that is a cult. So a leader, a cult, is a person that is controlled and manipulated by a leader who's very narcissistic, who's very manipulative, who then places themselves on a pedestal that no one else can possibly reach or even question. They're God. Well, that is a cult. So a religion, can a cult be a religion? Well, in this case, yeah, because they believed that she was God. But Jim Jones, for example, Jim Jones was not a cult. Jim Jones was not a religion. Jim Jones was a cult. David Koresh in Waco, that was not a religion, that was a cult. Because in both cases, the leaders elevated themselves to a status of God. As a matter of fact, in Jim Jones, at one time, well, several times, there's recordings. You can go on YouTube and watch it and listen to it. He takes the Bible and throws it on the ground. And he says, and this isn't in church, he does this. And he says, you don't need to listen to that blank thing. And he stomps on it. He said, you need to listen to what I have to say. That's a cult. That's a manipulator. That's a narcissistic, very sadistic, dangerous human being. A sociopath. I mean, he's clearly. And we know what happened there and in Jonestown. So they are authoritarianism. The people's temple. That's right. You're right. The people's. Here's the deal. And it's true. I watched the documentary on Jim Jones, and this is true. This is true. The documentary said that if Jim Jones had just stopped, because he was fighting racial integration and he against discrimination, and if he had just stopped there, the documentary said he probably would be one of the leading experts or at least respected leaders in the civil rights movement. And I have to, if he had just stopped, and he said, because he fought for racial integration, he fought for discrimination against any kind. He was really gung-ho, and he was doing great work in the beginning. Something happened, or perhaps maybe nothing happened. He was just setting them up. See, so and many people, many theologians can see, yeah, he did. He truly did. He did very good work in the beginning. He didn't do all this nonsense and fake all this. And when he started doing the fake healings, that was it. That was it. It went downhill. When you have cult leaders, there is no tolerance for question or criticism. None at all. There is unreasonable fears of the outside world. And Jim Jones would always do this. He would always say, you leave here, you're going to be arrested, and this, that. It's a belief that former followers were wrong to believe because they claim there's no legitimate reason to. Again, that's what this article says. So people say, well, why do people join cults? Yeah, and Jones staged fake healings. He did. Jones actually, one time, there was a loud bang. And apparently someone had shot a gun in the air. This was all a setup. And this was at a church. I believe it was in California when they moved to California, or somewhere in California. And he then came out stumbling and he fell down. And it looked like he was bleeding and all this other stuff. And they said, oh, let's take him to the hospital. I'm like, no, let's put him with the church, And then he came out miraculously healed. That's what he did. And of course, it was all fake. It was all fake. You know, they were trying to say that someone shot him and he was able to resurrect himself. So according to this author, the question is why do people join cults? Well, it says many people are obsessed with the psychology of cults. Just look at all the TV shows about them. That's fair. Yet when it comes to understanding why someone might join a cult, people are often still confused. One sociologist had said many people join cults because they are looking for a sense of purpose in their lives or because they want to belong. And often these leaders are able to recognize people that have trouble fitting into society. They use that knowledge to manipulate them, typically exploiting underlying issues such as insecurities, mental health issues, substance abuse problems, and they package their belief system in a way that makes the followers feel that they're part of something bigger. And as a consequence, according to the sociologists, they say cult members lower their defenses and are more likely to accept the stranger aspects of the new communities. And usually they are not also cut off from other, usually they are also cut off from other forms of social and financial support. So as far as the type of cults, you have religious cults, which we talked about today. This is big, folks. You need to be aware of this. Doomsday cults. This, I'm telling you, people are really going crazy with this. I mean, we've always had doomsday, people running around saying it's the end of the world. And we've even in Paul's time they were saying this. But these doomsday cults, I mean, it's becoming a cult. And according to this article, it says doomsday cults believe that the end of the world is imminent, and only their followers will be saved. So often their focus is on stockpiling food and supplies, but some may engage in violent and otherwise unlawful behavior. Now, I'm not saying that stockpiling, food or water for emergency reasons is bad. It's not. That's nothing. But when it gets to an extreme level that you think the end of the world's going to happen, you got to. This is really happening, and it's becoming quite serious. There's political cults. And boy, we can talk about that for hours and hours and hours. And the article says it is important to note that there is often some overlap between the categories. David Koresh, remember David Koresh from the Branch Davidians in Waco? For instance, he had characteristics that fit into, there are religious cults, doomsday cults, sex cults, and political cults. So the sex cults, obviously the requirement is for followers to engage in adult behavior with the cult leaders or members. So ultimately, cults of any kind share an authoritarian structure. So in David Koresh's situation, remember he had a prophecy, and the prophecy said that he was the only one that was allowed to have adult relations with the female members. And he pretended it was such a difficult thing. Oh, it was so difficult for him. But that's what they did. They followed these people, and terrible things happen. But we see this over and over with cult leaders. There was a guy down in Florida. I forgot his name, De Jesus or something of this nature. Miranda. I think he's passed on now. But he was going around saying he was Jesus. Not only was he telling people he was Jesus, but he was also demanding that his followers place 666 on their body, because he was saying that is their mark and all this other stuff. And people did. And this guy was a multimillionaire. Famous people joined this cult, believing that he himself was Jesus. Yeah, it's De Jesus Miranda or something about this in Florida. Let's see. I think it's Jose. Yeah, Jose Luis de Jesus. That's it. That was the guy. Jose Luis de Jesus. He passed away in 2013. He was the leader of the Creciendo en Gracia cult. It was in Miami, Florida. He claimed to be both the return phase of Jesus Christ and the Antichrist. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, you're just both. So he claimed to be Jesus and the Antichrist at the same time. And he was known for making statements that opposed the precepts of the Roman Catholic Church, but the whole Christianity, period. But that followed his interpretation of the Bible. He was previously known as something else, which translated to roughly the man Jesus Christ. But shortly after his death, his followers granted him the title of Melchizedek, because as stated by his official site, he attained his new and final name, which means King of Justice and King of Peace. And the thing is he actually was quite wealthy and very successful. Very successful. Do demons hate Christmas? Well, demons hate Christ. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. The Davidians were run by a woman there, and then it was terrible. The whole situation. But just be careful about this, guys. We're seeing this more and more. We're seeing this increase especially now in doomsday. Now, I'm going to tell you something and I believe this with all my heart. I believe that we are going to see an increase in this. And it's going to be even more, we're going to be just even more inundated with these doomsday cults. So you need to be prepared. That's just my opinion. I'm seeing a trend, and I've seen a dramatic increase in these people building these communities, these doomsday cults, and saying the end of the world's going to happen. You need to join our community. If you don't, blah, blah, blah. And you need to give over everything you own so that we can stockpile. And then when everything happens, then you need to get to us and you'll be secure. I'm seeing this. So there's a rise here. So you need to be aware of that. And I think it's going to get worse. That's just my opinion. Yeah. So we got to be careful. I don't know. Yeah. And of course, this year, now, by the way, for those of you who want to know, I do teach Bible study. I'm not quitting. We still have plenty of time to go. I do have Bible study on Sundays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am going to be here on the normal platforms, my Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Spreaker. I will be here on Christmas Eve teaching Bible study, only because there's a lot of people that don't have family members, and they've asked me if I would be willing to do that. Absolutely. Yeah, sure. No problem. So I just moved my schedule around a little bit, and I'll be here. That way, if you don't have anybody to share, Christmas Eve with, well, now you do. Yeah. Doomsday preppers, not with the PR, preppers. Okay. Well, look, this time of the year, speaking of cult, this time of the year, it always happens, folks. It always happens. We are going to be inundated with Nostradamus's prediction of 2024. And everybody now and come out of the woodwork and say they have predictions in 2024. And I'm sure people are going to claim to be this and this and say, well, I see turmoil. Well, thanks, Einstein. That's really good. That really helps. I mean, you don't need to be come on. But anyway, I wanted to share this with you. Nostradamus' 2024 predictions revealed. And the article says, brace yourself for more war and famine. It's interesting how, isn't it interesting that in every single year, all these articles come out for predictions for the next year. It's always doom and gloom. I mean, something good has to happen. Anyway, this is by Alexandra Klausner. Okay, so to be fair, we are giving credit to where credit is due. Alexander Klausner. So it says Nostradamus, a 16th century French astrologer known as the Prophet of Doom, has a few foreboding predictions for 2024. So according to his 1555 text, The Prophecies, this year brings continued global strife 2024, including war on the seas, royal turmoil, and humanitarian disaster. You see, his vision of the future is laid out in 942 poetic verses. And while his writings are somewhat vague, you think, he has been credited with allegedly foreseeing the rise of Hitler, the assassination of Kennedy, the September 11 attacks, and some others. So in spite of some who falsely believed his text had predicted the apocalypse in 1999, which, by the way, they did, which didn't happen, his visions continued and have to say for 2024. Now, here's what this says. Now, according to people who study Nostradamus's predictions, well, guess what they're saying? Yeah, royal turmoil. Can you imagine? Well, one of the passages in his long text says that a king of the Isles will be driven out by force. Now, some experts who are Nostradamus predictions think that Nostradamus is referring to King Charles III. Now, another passage supposedly says, Charles says, soon afterwards, a disastrous war, a new king shall be anointed, who for a long time will appease the British author and Nostradamus commentator Mario Reading, who previously said Nostradamus may have predicted Queen Elizabeth's the second death, analyzed that King Charles III would be abdicating the throne due to persistent attacks on both himself and his second wife. And Harry, thank you, Harry would replace him instead of William, because he, Harry, the spare heir, has no mark of a king. The Daily Mail reported. Okay. So according also the Nostradamus prediction, hello. So Nostradamus prediction says China will be waging war. I know. But I got to do this. I do this every year. I got to do it every year. So I know people are like, oh, okay, just hold on. Because people have been asking me. I've been getting emails. Please do this. All right, fine. I'll do an article. So Nostradamus predicted combat and naval battle and said that a red adversary will become pale with fear, putting the great ocean in dread. Well, what does that mean? Some think that the red adversary could be referring to China or the red flag. The naval battle could be referring to China's tension with the island of Taiwan. Beijing, the capital of China, has the largest navy in the world. Also, according to Nostradamus 2024, the climate crisis has become more apparent in recent years with an increase in drought, wildfires, and record high temperatures, according to the author. Nostradamus, the author says, predicts that it will get even worse. Well, boy, that's fantastic. Let's just sit back and enjoy a wine cooler and enjoy the really bad news. Anyway, he says the dry earth will grow more parched, and there will be great floods when it is seen. He also predicted extreme weather events and world hunger. I got to say something about this. Let me just say this. Whether you believe in global warming or not, here's what I am going to say. Now, I don't know. I'm not an expert. I'm not a scientist. But this is what I am going to say. Regardless of your political affiliation, folks, okay? I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, we had tornadoes in February in Kentucky. As a matter of fact, Miss Wilma's brother lost his house to an EF3 tornado. Now, I may not have the best memory in the world, but this is what I do know for a fact. When I was a kid, January and February were unbelievably cold and snowy in Kentucky every year. It was all I remember as a kid waking up and going out to the bus, going outside waiting for the school bus, and it was freezing. It was cold. Matter of fact, it was so cold. Sometimes we had to stay in the house, and we'd run outside. And when the school bus started coming, we'd run outside. Folks, we have tornadoes now in February. And here's the problem. Now, some people say, well, it could be a one-off event. It's not. We are having these almost every year now, tornado warnings in January and February in Kentucky. That's not normal. So now, whatever you want to call, Chicago? Listen. Miss Kid 53 says in Chicago area too. Folk, that's not normal. I don't care what you say. I studied at Loyola University in Chicago, my undergraduate program. And let me tell you, when I was in Chicago, it was freezing cold. It was, now we're talking, quite a few years ago, or over 20 years. It was cold. I mean, really cold. Of course, I was on the lake at Loyola, but having tornadoes. So, look, you can say whatever you want to say. You can, whatever term you want to call it. But in my opinion, when you have tornadoes in January and February in Kentucky, you got a problem. You have tornadoes in January, February in Chicago, you have a problem. So I'm just saying. Also, Nostradamus predicted this. Listen to this. But see, but it's not just El Nino. I disagree. We're seeing this trend every year now. So for the past 10 years, I am seeing a trend, and every year has not been a strong or weak El Nino. So see, that's what I was thinking. Well, it has to be El Nino. It's not. because we're seeing a trend every year, January and February, tornadoes. And every year is not the same weather pattern. So when you look at, well, what's the common denominator? I don't know. Listen to this. Nostradamus allegedly predicts Pope Francis could soon see a replacement. It says, through the death of a very old pontiff, a Roman of good age will be elected. Of him, it will be said that he weakens his see, S-E-E, but long will he sit in biting activity. So Pope Francis, who's very close to 87 years old, has been having a lot of serious health issues. And so he attended Mass for the Virgin Mary Guadalupe at the Vatican Tuesday, December the 12th. And he was in a wheelchair. So the Pope actually had to skip the UN climate conference because of a lung inflammation and breathing problems from the flu. So it is interesting. And what's interesting also, now again, I'm not one of these doomsday, but I just wanted to pass on the information. There is one prediction, I believe, and I can't. My mind just said goodbye. That said that the last Pope will be what was his name? Peter. Peter will be the last Pope. His name would be Peter, and he would be Roman. Well, there is actually, which is interesting, there is a cardinal. His first name is Peter, and he is Roman Catholic. And so it's interesting. And some people say he's a contender. I don't know. We'll see. But Nostradamus. It's one of those things. You take it with a grain of salt. I do, and hopefully you do as well. For those of you offering gifts to the ministry, I thank you very much for that. I apologize if I'm not thanked you individually. It's only because, obviously, as I mentioned all the time, I have two different computers running at the same time. By the way, listen to this. This is interesting. This is another one of these conspiracy theories or cults, if you will. This is by Zoe Mitchell. And I don't know why people do this. Folks, don't do this. Please don't. A man went to Alaska to look for the Black Pyramid that's allegedly in Alaska that people are saying exist. He went missing. A 41-year-old man named Nathan Campbell hired a charter plane out of Talkeetna to fly him to a small lake in the northwest corner of Denali National Park. Along with some basic camping gear, Campbell bought a hefty cache of food stored in plastic tubs and a two-way satellite communicator to check in with his wife and kids. He planned to spend the next 4 months alone, smack dab in the center of interior Alaska. Campbell had picked a strange place for a summer vacation. You see, the plane had dropped him on the shores of Carey Lake, a mile-long splat of blue surrounded by hundreds of square miles of uninhabited wilderness. But there is some rough terrain and there is wildlife there, dangerous wildlife. So travel in any direction would require fighting his way through head-high alder thickets and waist-deep beaver ponds. And to reach the nearest town, it would be a population of only 13, would require a week of hellish bushwhacking on foot. But it was solitude that Campbell was looking for. Well, Campbell wasn't there for fun. He was on a mission. You see, on the long flight from Talkeetna to Carey Lake, while on the vast green carpet of the boreal forest floated beneath him, the usually shy Campbell told his pilot, Jason Sturgis, how he planned to spend his summer. Campbell had come to Carey Lake to search for something that, until now, only existed in the darkest, least updated corners of the internet, the Black Pyramid. It's a massive underground structure that was rumored on social media to be 4 times the size of the famous, pyramids in Egypt, and thousands, if not millions, of years old. So conspiracy theorists who went on social media and said, oh, it's there. They claim the structure is so powerful, its importance to national security so important that all traces of the pyramid and the military base believed to protect it have been wiped from satellite imagery. And now, although bush pilots, trappers, and native had traveled the area around Carrie Lake for generations. A quick search through the Fairbanks Daily National Minor Archive shows a few references to a giant alien pyramid or a top secret base in central Alaska. But then again, until Nathan Campbell showed up, no one had really been looking for it. And his reasons for starting his search deep in the Alaskan wilderness, if you follow the nebulous logic of the conspiracy theories, make perfect sense. Yeah. First, the Black Pyramid fits neatly into the pantheon of paranoid-inducing military installations in Alaska. The most infamous of these is the High-Frequency Active Auroral Research, or known as HARP, located just outside Fairbanks. Depending on who you ask, HARP, they say, is a high-frequency transmitter used to remotely set off earthquakes to topple Venezuelan dictators, control the world's climate, and undermine the fossil fuel industry, or to help scientists study the ionosphere. I mean, you have to choose. And second, the supposed location of the Black Pyramid has long been recognized as an area of geostrategic importance. You see, in the 1930s, General Billy Mitchell, the so-called father of the U.S. Air Force, saw this lake about 40 miles north of where Campbell landed at Carrie Lake and decided something has to go there. And so that meant with the same tank of fuel, a B-52 taking off from the shores of this lake could strike Tokyo, Beijing, Moscow, Paris, even New York. Anyway, it goes on and on and on. It's a very long article. So he thinks that he's going to find this pyramid. Anyway, it doesn't happen. He got himself into trouble, and no one knows. All the NPS has to go on scattered testimonies and fragments of evidence. And before the plane left, Campbell gave his charter pilot, Jason Sturgis, instructions to pick him up at Carrie Lake in mid-September, and right before the onset of the Alaskan winter. And after that, Sturgis hopped on his plane, flew back to Talkeetna. That was the last time anyone saw Campbell alive. So sometime in mid-June, Campbell's satellite, the text stopped. And his wife contacted the pilot, who told her to call a company flying helicopters to check the site of Campbell's last transmission and the results of her calls, or if she tried their search, they're unknown. It wasn't until Campbell missed the September 15th, his pickup date, that the NPS sent a search team to Carrie Lake. And they beat the brush. Rangers found some of Campbell's gear, cracked food bins, moldy clothes, a battered tent, no signs. And the only clues, and he was a Wasilla native, by the way, so he's a native Alaskan. And the only clues were the rodent-chewed remnants of his diary. And the last entry, dated sometime in late June, simply stated, went to get water. Then he simply disappeared. So they had to eventually abandon the search. And October 1st, 2020, Campbell was declared officially missing. Now, wherever he is, hopefully he found what he's looking for somewhere deep in the Alaskan wilderness, but the search of the Black Pyramid continues. See, this is why I get really irritated when people go online and they create these videos where it's just utter nonsense and irresponsible, quite honestly. And this happened, actually, Pizzagate. Do you remember that? People were saying that there's this pizza, that at this pizza store, that they had a basement and they were doing terrible things. I'm not going to go into it. They were doing, you can do your own search on it. But politicians were doing these god-awful, terrible things in the basement of this pizzeria. It got so bad that people actually showed up to this pizzeria demanding and even threatening the owner to see the basement. The problem is there's no basement in the pizzeria. There's no basement. It doesn't exist. But people went online on social media saying this nonsense, this ridiculous, just absurd conspiracy theory crap. And people bought it hook, line, and yeah, you're right. Andrew says you're right. And some guy actually showed up with an AR-15. Folks, look, that's no joke. Thank you, Mr. British. That's no joke. That's serious. That is really serious stuff. So when you go on social media and you promote this type of stuff, somebody who might not be in the right, maybe the rational thinking, may do exactly what this guy did and showed up with an AR-15 demanding to see this basement that doesn't exist. So you have to really be careful about this type of information that's online, because some people are doing it for clickbait. Some people do it for sensationalism. Some people do it because they actually believe this nonsense. And I don't know, quite honestly, which is worse, and to be honest with you. Actually, Jesus did say, Jesus absolutely said he was God, because actually when he healed the blind man actually bent down and actually worshiped Jesus, and Jesus did not rebuke him. And so therefore, Jesus, because otherwise he would have said, I'm sorry, you can't worship me, you have to worship God, but he did not rebuke him. So you are incorrect. I would agree with you if you were right, but you are not. All right. For those of you on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, I'm going to have to say, unfortunately, goodbye. TikTok, I'll stay with you guys in just a second. Remember, I tell you, friends, your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. You are priceless, and don't let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, KGRADB Radio, and Mr. Producer, have a great night. The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the paranormal course link.